Sorry? I'm streaming right now. So we're going to go up here to draw and change the fill mode. Oh, it's already at 3. Great. So we can see the image behind it. Paper this down. So I'm just basically lining it up with the concept art here. Just gonna pull up some reference. I know you guys see that ref on screen, but I actually can't see it on my screen. Right. Just making the base shape right now. make some cuts here. Got like a bulge right here. Sitting at here, 92K. Not too bad. Work with that. Dial this back here. Some cuts. So we're just kind of moving through the base sculpt here, as you can see on screen. I have the concept art kind of overlaid there from the game. We're just gonna mark where the arms are. Like they're pretty far up. I did another sculpt earlier. get a tongue in here. Switch it to transparent. I didn't have symmetry. Mirror and weld it. Let's see. It's better. We also want to beef it up a bit. So we'll just add some volume first. It's gonna look terrible. I mean, this whole thing's gonna look terrible for a little bit, but then it'll just get more and more refined. Oh, we still have that on. He doesn't really have any eyes in the concept art or in the game, so leave them out. He has tons of teeth, though. Sort of marking where they're going to be. There's this like lateral line that actually it looks like it comes out a bit more. these structures look a bit too chunky, so I need to I need to dial them back a bit, make them more planar. A chunky proliferator. He's so chunky. Actually going to dial down the intensity here.
You'll never hear what anybody else has to say. And therefore all you'll have to talk about is your own conversation. The same is true for people who think all the time. That means, when I use the word think, talking to yourself, subvocal conversation, the constant chit-chat of symbols and images and talk and words inside your skull. Now, if you do that all the time, you'll find that you've nothing to think about except thinking. And just as you have to stop talking to hear what others have to say, you have to stop thinking to find out what life is about. And the moment you stop thinking, you become into immediate contact with the unspeakable world.
Need a line down this way too.
Will blow the world to pieces.
And at several different points, there's spikes coming up. We can get to that later. It's also got a bunch of indentations here, a lot of volume coming out, kind of like a grub. Might switch over to build-up brush, give us some additional bit of texture as we're sculpting. And I want to make sure the form wraps around the top, right? And the bottom. again, this is like my interpretation of this character. You know, it may not be. You know, we'll see what it looks like when I get towards the end, but it's definitely going to differ in some ways from the original, which is okay. But we're gonna try and get close. Need to build up the sides here a bit. Just adding strips, basically. Bulk out the volume. Dr. Kitty, hello! How's it going? Thanks for joining in. We're just having a Let's Sculpt of this character from Endless Legend, one of my favorite strategy games. It's going Gouda, or as it's really said, Howda. It's going Howda. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. We'll build up around where the arms are gonna go. That doesn't work as well with my pun. No, it doesn't. Got a little butt here. Let's leave it at that. Let's see, what does he look like on top? He's got some horns and stuff. Big ones. And he also has structures coming across along this ridge. I'm just masking that off and moving it out. Do the same thing right around here. You can also use the widget to do it, but you can just move it out here and arc it a little bit. It works. Forward. Too much volume, so also don't like the angle. Sort of just want to get them in here so I don't forget about them later. How many are there? There's 4 on that side. We can do one here too. Add to it. Actually, I like the inflate better, so we'll just do that. Another way to do this is just to dynamesh the same piece on, but I want each one of these to look slightly different, so there's multiple ways to skin a proliferator. again, the volume is really, I think, might be too much. We can also pretty much just like delete geometry by switching over the Sculptress Pro mode. If we look at what it does to the topology though, it makes new topology. It's interesting, especially when you're in this sort of phase. I'm gonna remesh it anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Just thought I'd show you. It's also context dependent, so like if I pull the mesh out here, you can see it's very dense right at the small size, but if I move it up to a larger brush size, it's much less. Oh no. It errored out. Give me a second, it's saving. Luckily, Zbrush has this awesome auto function where even if it crashes, it attempts to save. So most of the time you'll be fine as far as work. It's probably this one here. Yeah. Excellent. Oh, I need to change my document size. For some reason my document size is not sticking. Yes, clear that from canvas and draw it out again. And we're back. I also want to change over in, if you go to the document, you can change the color in back. I want it a bit lighter back there. And first we have to select lighter color here and hit back. That might be too light. I might actually want to go darker. More towards black. I just want contrast between the character and the canvas. Our tail got all messed up back here. It's all good though. As we go up in subdivision levels, it will get better and I'll fix it. It also does have like this really weird thing at the very end. Kind of bulks out like this. Do you position it after? Is there some easy way to do that? Oh, you mean like pose it? Yeah. Yeah, so I'll make Z-sphere armature and then I'll pose it out. Or I could mask off certain parts and pose it out that way. Right now I'm just making it in sort of like the default pose. So at any point, you know, this is the easiest way to make this character. you know, with humans, you do something called T-pose, or you'll do a pose which is similar, just so you have a baseline to work off of. Yeah, I've seen the T-pose. Switch to my other color. So the teeth are a really big part of this character, and I kind of want to get them in there. But first I'm going to work on the lower jaw here. And the inside of the mouth to hide that. It looks like I can get away with making gums too. I'll show you a cool way of doing that. It's pretty standard actually. So we'll sort of mask off this area here. I'll hide the tongue, or we could go into solo mode and I'll get rid of the tongue. I'll mask off pretty much the entire interior here. Yeah, you pretty much have to build. It's not as complex as like rigging it, but you do have to build like a quasi rig in Zbrush if you want to pose. It's actually quite. It's a lot easier than having to go and rig it, though. I am not great at rigging. Don't have much experience doing that. So what we want to do is go over here to extract double, and that's way too thick because this thing is small. We'll dial back the thickness. It sort of gives us a preview. That's probably pretty good. We'll accept that. Oh man, it gave us all these different pieces. We really just need the front part. So this is how I'll deal with this. Zbrush has polygroups. Go to polygroup, auto group, and then I'll select each one of these, hide them, and delete them. Right, so those are gone. And then you go to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, and they're gone. Yay. So let's go out of solo mode and smooth along the edge here. We need more volume though, so move this out. Actually need a lot more volume. So we could just go to, and before I do this, I'm gonna save because sometimes it crashes it. So we'll save this as Prolif. My Twitch folder, Zbrush project, Prolif. And then if you go down here under deformation and you inflate, we just need a little tiny bit. That should be good. See, now it's inflated along the normals, so the whole thing has been inflated. Which is handy. I actually do want a solo, because I just want to build in some gums. And his teeth actually aren't going to be in these gums. They're more to show like, we'll show like the saliva and stuff dripping down eventually. my hunger level is full. Draken. Be right back. No problem. Oh no, our music turned off. There we go. Dynamish this. We want to go pretty high because the scale is small. And let's turn down the intensity quite a bit. Maybe about 8. Actually, I can just go ahead and Z-remesh this. Doesn't have to be high at all. So we've got like a set of really gnarly looking teeth here. make sure they curve around. So I'll get them all in, and then I'll mirror them across the other side, and we can make them. My plan is to make them asymmetrical at the end. It's because the teeth on this creature are so emblematic, and they look asymmetrical too. Angled. There. None of them are the same size either. Take this one. And then another thing I can do here, just to separate them all out, is to again go to polygroups and auto group them. And now I can just, you know, when I'm making selections, I can just select that one tooth. I can like mask it off or do whatever I want. Coffee here. Hope you guys are having a good. For me, it's afternoon. Might be evening for you if you're in Europe. Just soften it. That music back on. It's starting to look, it really needs the teeth to look like a proliferator, don't you think? And that long, sort of venom-like tone. We can try. I might just end up sticking in spikes there and dynameshing it. That might be the best way to go about it. So I mark those off where I want them to be, and we'll append a sphere in here. We can do this for the other spikes too, on top. Basically, I just want it to start here and then go equidistant. Gotta snap to it. Get your symmetries on. Make it a lot smaller. Really doesn't need to have so much geometry. We'll get it to a real low res state. Small feature, really. They don't really stick out that much. Really tiny, but you do see them in the profile. And it looks like we could have them start a little bit further up, like right around here. Oh, whoops. Sure, they're grounded. Nestled. Something like that. I also want to start making the arms. For that, will actually make them separated from everything else. So again, I'll start with a sphere. Turn down the res on this. So it's 3 segmented. It's just like actually it's 4 segmented. They have like these little tiny nubs at the end. So 4 segmented. Concept art there. It's kind of this. Them angling back. really hard to see. These also have a line that sticks out of the intensity here. Actually, it looks like it might be 2, so that it creates a plane there. Then we'll take this one and mask it off, invert it. Mask it, unhide, invert. This one's sort of reflexed and it curves, recurved. I'm not really sure about the proportions, so we're gonna have to figure that out as we go. Looks about right though. And then they have this really tiny one on the very end. Like this. Aww. They're so cute. Pinch this. Something like that, right? And we're gonna go ahead and dynamesh these at a higher resolution because they're very small features and we don't want to lose volume so much. There we go. Looks pretty good. And we will leave them separated. At least for now. How does it look like with 3? This one's smaller. That down to. So we'll actually separate these into separate subtools. Polygroup, autogroup, subtool, split, group split. Okay. And now they're separate groups. See, one way to pose is just to soften this mask here. Snap to the unmasked stuff, and then I can rotate this, right? which for my purposes is fine. I don't plan on, you know, rigging this. Not that I wouldn't, but there's also T-pose to sub-T, which is extremely useful too. I'm just doing it to break it up a little bit as I'm sculpting. Look a little bit big, gotta be honest. That to me looks closer to the other concept art. One of them doesn't even... There's one concept where there are no arms drawn in. So I feel like in the game there's arms, but it's up to us. I wanted to do arms. They look cool. So I mirrored those teeth over to the other side, and immediately you can see that we could use some more. So the way I'll do that is mask this off. Partially hidden. Right. Instead, I'll select this. Go to Subtool, Split Hidden. And I don't really care about this side. Please. Right, so we'll delete hidden. We need a couple more towards the center. coming out a bit more too. Yeah, that looks. So now we want to merge them back together. And then we'll mirror them too. So you go to merge down. Okay. Oh, got some hidden stuff. Right? Here in weld. Oh. The way we fix that. Go to deformation. Mirror. Geometry, mirror, and weld. Now, correct. We also want to split them back into polygroups, so we'll auto group it. That looks a bit better. These center dudes, I want to make them really huge because it looks like they really jut out on the concepts. And we need to turn on local symmetry. And should they're attached. It's not great. We have a lot of places here where there's tissue that rides across. So I'm gonna make marks here and then inflate them. Down here too. Might not be sharp enough. But after I inflate, I can go back through again. Sharpen it up a bit. I also want to dig down into the tissue in between. I might want to do that with a standard brush. Kind of push it. See what works. Trying to keep it loose. Bit of a build-up around each tooth. Signify. Patched. Always good. A little bit. See how these look mirrored over. The way you can do that easily, you go to Z plugin, subtool master, mirror, and then we'll merge into one subtool. Now it'll be over on the other side. I'll select the other one. You can even grab this plugin tab and drag it over here. Mirror this. Great. This actually, we're gonna need to chop, slice. Maybe about there. We don't want to slice the rest of it though. Make it more planar with a trim dynamic brush. Nice curves, nice lines going in there. Yeah, that's looking good. This needs to come back a bit though. And it looks like we could, if we wanted, add a couple more, and the easiest way to do that and work from something we've already made. Mask this off. We'll make it its own poly group. I'll hide it there. And go to split hidden. Okay. And then I'll duplicate that. And we'll merge it down. They're not connected anymore, so we have to re-dynamesh. I'm fine doing. There's not that much detail that I want to preserve yet. And now we have but I thought I duplicated it twice. So let's go back. Let's try that again. Split hidden. I think I duplicated actually the original mesh, which I didn't mean to do. Duplicate that. Merge down. Dynamesh it. Now you see we have that other one. Move that. Let me check the other. Got one that sort of depends on what we want to do. We'll turn off symmetry. Snap at 180. We actually want to snap home because it's not centered. Yeah, it looks like they did something like this. And then there's an additional piece a little bit further down. Reflex back. You can see they're not centered, so try to get them as close as possible. Then I'll just do mirror and weld. It'll be fine. I want to Z-remesh these. The shape is bothering me. in order to just move one, you could either turn on the snake hook brush, go into brush and modifiers, not modifiers, where is it here? Auto masking, topological, and then when I go to move it, it'll just select this by topology. It'll select this piece because they're separate only. You can do that with any brush too. One of the really handy tools in Zbrush. Same with, there's some brushes that are topological, so like the move topological, if I just wanted to move this piece, I'll bring my brush size far up, and then you can see I can just move this. There's a bit of distortion because of the fall off, but it allows me to position a little better. Alternatively, you could use the widget and just do it like that, you know, mask this off, unmask the widget to move it around. So we're gonna merge these down now. They're large enough that I could just merge them to the base form. So again, we'll go to merge down. And then Dynamesh. There's just gonna be a little bit of cleanup. We might wanna, I mean, we will wanna sculpt in some detail here. Come together. But right now I'm just more focused on getting the basic form down. Not sure why local symmetry isn't really working right now. Here we go. You just have to snap to one of them. It does have this feature, and actually these are like, there's a lot more separations here in form. It looks like he's got, like, where he breathes is along the side here. He's got vacuoles, similar to insects. A little test render. Actually, what we should do, what you want to do is shift click your paint tool here, the poly paint on your subtools, and that's so that when you go to render it, they all render correctly. You can see there's separation on the arms there, but we knew that would happen. Need a lot more detail on the back. It's hard for me to get good reference of kind of what they had in mind there, but just gonna start adding some detail back here. Looks like they have some ridges running across. Oh no, my coffee's turning off. I need to get some more coffee, guys. Coffee is life. I never liked coffee until I became a barista in college. Then, you know, when you work a shift that starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, or 4:30 in the morning, you're definitely drinking coffee. Yeah, it looks like there's sort of like ridges running back along this way. I want to build up a line here, here. Don't want it to break up the silhouette though. Oh man. A wormy whale. Make some undercuts here. Feel like this ridge here almost needs to be like muscle. With all his real strong muscles along the spine. I assume he has some sort of spine. He might not. He does have sort of an exoskeleton here. Although he's so huge, I couldn't imagine him not having some sort of spine. Luckily, at least here on Earth, insects can't grow large because of the way their respiratory system works. They rely on oxygen diffusing through their body through little vacuoles like this. And you'll see that on the abdomen of things like, you know, if you ever look at a bee or an ant, you look real close, they have these on the sides. And for that reason, insects can only get so big. Now, they used to be able to get a lot bigger, but that's because the oxygen content in the atmosphere was greater. Back in the like 300 million, I'm sorry, 150 million years ago, maybe. Now because I've changed the height, we're losing these guys. I don't want to lock them in yet though until I know exactly where that silhouette's going to be. Chat, I lost you. Oh, there you are. So we're just sort of building up the primary, secondary forms. Real soft. We want to break up this line here. Some of these just don't make sense. I need to pull this tissue back. Pull this in. Same down here. Let's see what the concept looks like. Yeah, they pull that back a bit. Out here, come out. I want to give the impression that this line here has some weight to it, right? It's a big creature. At some point here, I'll Z-remesh it. It's pretty soon too. So I get better, I can do better topology. My strokes will make more sense. They'll be more accurate. I'm still sort of feeling out all the forms though of this creature. I almost want to draw this whole thing in from the top there. See what it looks like with flat color. Okay, I'm at the point with this piece that I will store history here by pressing Control, and then I'll Z-remesh this at half. We're really high, much higher than we should be for this level of sculpting, but it's okay. Yeah, we'll probably have it twice. See, it might not preserve the tail very well. I'll try once and see how it does. I might have to make this a separate subgroup or polygroup back here. Same with these horns. I'm gonna grab some coffee. Be right back, guys. As you can see, topology is much better. It's at 200. We're gonna go back to project history. We don't want to project polydata, polypaint. We'll subdivide up and project history again. And that'll probably be good. We didn't really have that much detail. Kitty, did you get some more shrimp? Are you eating my precious shrimpies? I don't even know if you're here, but... Yes, actually. Oh no, my precious shrimps. You made an Alfredo of my shrimp? I have the itis. I've had the itis for a while. I've had this really bad cold. And it doesn't fucking go away. It's so terrible. Yeah, that looks. Zbrush always renders with like these really harsh shadows. So you have to go into the render tab, turn the strength down and make the blur higher because it doesn't really have a fall off if you notice, like the shadows just stop. So if we render again, right, that's a bit better. You have softer shadows, which generally what you'll want for concepting. Does he not have eyes on his original model? I don't think so. I can't see any. I'm tempted to put on like... Here, I'll show you what I'm tempted to put a couple on. So like, we'll add in a sphere. I want to see at least, you know, like a little cluster of eyes over here or something. Even if they're tiny. Like, they should be tiny, but... Not sure exactly where they'd be. Probably, like, around here. Like a compound eye or something would be kind of cool. Something like that. Placement might be wrong. What if it were like way up here? Like, what if they were right there? That actually looks better. I take that and make it its own polygroup. Delete it. Or it could just be like a single eye instead of compound. Obviously, we're gonna mirror these over, but hide that for now. We'll duplicate it. Make this bigger. I don't know if this will actually work. Probably looks wrong. So I can see why they didn't want to do eyes. Tried it though. It also gave us a bit more interesting forms. I feel like almost sculpting where there would be an eye, you know, like around where we were, giving it more form there. Almost the illusion that maybe there was an eye there, but over the course of evolution, we lost it. Scarier with that. Scarier without the eyes, yeah. He knows where you are, even without them. Pretty scary concept. It's one of my favorites from Ben this Legend game. Although I really like the entire faction that this creature comes from, which is the necrophages. And I'm tempted to if we do, you know, in the future we do more Let's Sculpts like this for game characters, I'm tempted to do some more of those guys because they're fantastic. They're sort of insect-like, but also zombie-like in a way. Need some more bulk. Actually, I don't know if I like that. Sort of want to hide the arms for now. We're not really working on them. Not the tone. And I can group them together. I feel like we should do that. Oh no. Didn't want to do that. No, escape. It's not... I always like mess up my hotkeys between Photoshop and Zbrush. Sometimes I do like Control G, which would normally create a group, but in Zbrush it's... What is it here? Folder is Control F. So we'll do arms. They actually added this kind of recently. Now we can just turn off the group. And we have to stop selecting the arm. So we got to be thinking about where he kind of bends, where there's movement. Let's pinch this off here. Bit much. Like, we don't want to lose the volume entirely, but are you using a tablet? Yes, I am. I'm using a... Here, I'll show you. I'm using a large Wacom tablet. It is the Intuos Pro Large. I love it. I love the large size, especially for illustration. Yeah, it is a big one. I think they run about $300 a pop, and it's definitely my baby. I use it for all my illustration, for when I'm doing retouching. I don't think I could sculpt without it. I've done some sculpts in Zbrush with just a mouse, but it's normally when things are planar. It's also when I'm using the Z modeler for the most part. There's actually an entire Z modeler kind of hard surface modeling tool within ZBrush now, which is really cool. Cass is one with a screen, but he hasn't used it. Are you kidding? As in, he's got oh, what is it called? A Cintiq? Is it a Cintiq that he has? Oh god, I want one of those so bad. They're all good though. I mean, that would be perfect for stuff like this where I'm sculpting in ZBrush. Although I hear for a lot of artists it's a bit disorienting at first, and some of them never, like, some artists just don't like it. And they prefer to have a regular Wacom tablet. Art quickies. Art quickies are fun. This is around where the legs attach. Why would you get a Cintiq and not use it? That's what I'm wondering. Send it over. If he wants to sell it, I'll buy it. If it's an old one. Hasn't set it up yet. You guys got a house? Okay, gotcha. He said he's a programmer, right? But he likes sculpting or drawing. Sometimes I like, I like switching between materials, so let's try that. Move back to our basic material that has a bit more specularity. And also changing your lights around a little bit. Help. Pretty cool. Oh shoot, I never changed my stream info because I was sculpting the Draken last night. I'm gonna change it now. There we go. Trying to read the back, what the back of the tail is like. Really hard to tell from the art. I'm going to actually add some spikes to it.
If you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has to say. And therefore all you'll have to talk about is your own conversation. The same is true for people who think all the time. That means, when I use the word think, talking to yourself, subvocal conversation, the constant chit-chat of symbols and images and talk and words inside your skull. Now, if you do that all the time, you'll find that you've nothing to think about except thinking. And just as you have to stop talking to hear what others have to say, you have to stop thinking to find out what life is about. And the moment you stop thinking, you become into immediate contact with the unspeakable world. The force of liberation will blow the world to pieces.
Just want to make sure I'm following the form. Can't get a straight answer for him about what. Oh, why it won't set it up. He probably doesn't want to mess with it. If he's not really that into it. Too much to deal with, most likely. He doesn't want to use it. Yeah, I looked online at sort of the refurbished ones, and even the refurbished ones were a couple of grand. So I figured I might as well just buy a new one once I save up for it. The voice and the music, I didn't select this music. This music is just from like autoplay from copyright free music on YouTube, but I recognize that voice. That's Alan Watts. Fantastic. You've never heard his talks. He's I don't know what you would call him, almost an anthropological psychologist or something. Really beautiful talks.
Think about the memory you want me to see. Not even that hard, just picture it.
There was a voice earlier. You probably missed it, Kitty. Or away. Pretty frightening shit. I don't know how far I want to take this. I kind of want to eventually paint it, but I feel like this is pretty good for like a first pass before I get way too detailed. I'll need to go back and sort of work on the primary forms. It's also hard to tell what the dimensions are, or what the proportions are from the concept art. Like, I'm tempted to move this in. Like, to me, this whole part should come in like that. Like, that makes more sense. Which means the gums then have to come in too. Selected. Got him. Yeah. Really, they don't. We could just redo them. Yeah, see from above, that makes a lot more sense to me. And also it reads, I feel like the concept art is like that, it's just hard to tell. You don't have all the angles. Yeah, we can do like we'll do like a part 1 render. And the way I'll do that, I want to actually position these arms. It'd be better now that we move stuff around. We need to go back and change this. Move these in. Further up, maybe. Just going through and selecting each one and place. And then we'll merge all and dash it together and render it out. Good. A cool, at least beginning, we can just like call it part 1. More to come. I'll continue the stream later. Oh shoot, it pulled from this side too. Did not want to do that. Really just this one. Step back here. That. Back there. That it? Sweet, okay. That's pretty good. So then, you know, if you ever want to do, you've got what you think might be the base mesh down, you can go into Subtool, and just for visualization purposes, you go to Merge, and Merge All, Merge Visible, and then that'll bring it up here to a different group, which we can then, we don't have to worry about affecting our project. In fact, let's save this as a project first before we do this. Proliferator version 2. And if you see in the top left corner, you can see the silhouette of the creature. It might be getting really big here, but actually in terms of the document size, it's about where it should be. One way to see that properly, if I go to document and I zoom here, you can now see, like, that's the actual size of the document. So if we want to do just like a profile shot, which is always the most boring way to shoot anything, but let's do it anyway. We'll go there, and then let's make sure we have our render passes dialed in. I think we futzed with them earlier, so they should be good. We just need to activate ambient occlusion to give more depth to it. Go ahead and render. And then so it generates all these different passes. If you're not familiar with 3D, it'll generate like a shadow pass, ambient occlusion pass, a depth pass, which is the distance from camera. And then you can, what I would do then is comp it in Photoshop. So I take all of that, I take it into Photoshop. I might do several materials as well. Bring it into Photoshop, and then I'll create something that looks cooler. I might even paint over it, like I did with the Draken yesterday. And in ZBrush, it's really easy. You know, you're generally going to be using this for concepting purposes, although there's artists like Rafael Grassetti who produces amazing renders just out of ZBrush natively. So you go over to render passes, BPR render pass. You can't really see it. I think it's cut off for you, but here, I'll move it over. I'll do it over here. Render, BPR render pass. Now you can see it. I have all these renders, and I can just save them out into a folder, and then I'll comp them from there. Proliferator passes. Or shader pass. There's also a plugin which will instantly render it out, and then all your passes will go straight to Photoshop, which can be great too. Just for now, we'll do it manually. Ambient occlusion, mask, and I can show you another way of doing this, which is fun. If you just want to get a bunch of different views in ZBrush, ZBrush is like a 2.5D program, so you can actually just snap this view to canvas. I'll do that by pressing Shift S, and then I can move this down, and I've got another view. And position that. Do like this. Do like a 3/4 view. Get a bit bigger. Again, Shift S. Maybe do a front view. right? So then you've got, if you're, let's say you're working with an art director, you can show them all the different angles really quickly without having to do any rendering. So basically I just snap this to canvas and then I save it out as a document, which is super handy. I also use this when I'm, I might start a sculpt. I'll save out the document and then I'll bring it into Photoshop and I'll circle things which I think are wrong or that I need to change, and then I can use that as a reference when I go back into Zbrush, start sculpting again. Super handy. All you have to do is go to Document, Export, and save it as a JPEG or PSD if you want to. And it gives you the option of cropping it, which we can do. You can also adjust it here, like you can add more contrast. You can even like change the hue, change the brightness, the gamma. It's basic stuff, but sometimes it helps. So yeah, we can just say okay. And then to clear the canvas, you press Ctrl-N. And we just have our 3D model back. Never went away, we just kind of dropped those to the canvas so that we could save the document. And now we're gonna do our beauty render. We'll do that 3/4. And we're gonna play around with the lights a bit. And the materials, so I'll add in more lights. We'll add a light on the bottom that's sort of a reddish hue from the front. That'll look cool, really cool. And we'll play around with the intensity, but we'll add another sort of rim light off off to the left. That's a cool light. Ever so slightly cyan or blue. So we have our key light up here, which is the major light. If I turn that off, you can just see the other lighting that's going on. And we want to turn off the ambient light on all of our lights. And on our key lights or our rim lights, for this model, I want to bring it in closer. Bring that red light in closer. We'll play with the intensity. Don't want it to be that strong. Like just a little less than what we had originally. 0.25. Although when we do BPR, you tend to lose a lot of the light compared to the preview. So the preview doesn't really do it justice. We'll see what it looks like. And we're going to do a very strong backlight. A very strong rim light. And we'll try and keep that a little off-white. See what I mean in a second. We'll click that there. If I dial the intensity up, you can see it lighting the back of the object. We want it probably around 2, just so you start to see some light casting around the edges. That's it. Good to put it off in one direction. Since this is in a dark environment, a bit too much. We want it in the back, really. That looks pretty good. Make sure it's real close. Give it a render. See how it looks. Actually, what's our document size right now? Okay, 3400 by 1440. That's good. Good enough for this purpose. And in fact, if you were doing tons of renders like this, you'd probably want to bring it down to like 1280 by 720 or something like that. There we go. So you can see, you know, even though it looks, the light is working with it okay, there's still a lot of work to do. We have to go back and play with the forms. We've got to, you know, obviously we'll be painting it, and we just have to work with those secondary and tertiary forms in our next sculpt. This will be, I usually call 3/4 view 3Q. We can also make sure that we have this view locked in. We go to Movie, Timeline, Show, and then we click in the timeline. That'll actually lock this view in. So if I move the camera now, you say, oh, how do I get it back? Well, all I have to do now is click up here, and it pops right back to it. It's very handy. So that means, like, if I open up the project again, I can render it out in the exact same view if I want to do different passes. And I do want to do different materials right now. One especially that I'm going to do, I'll edit this material so that it has no diffuse and no ambient. And I'll give it 100% specular. Or actually, no, let's do, this creature would probably be like around 20 to 25 specularity, maybe upwards of 30. Let's do 30, and then I can always dial it back. So I'll use that as an overlay in Photoshop. Render that out. And we'll save that as specular. And then I want to go back to our materials here and switch. Let's see. Do Fresnel overlay might be good. Or environment can be a great one to comp in as well. Subsurface is good, like picking a skin shader can go a long way too. If you're trying to get a more realistic looking render, like polyskin. And I can always desaturate it so that there's no color or change the hue later on. And if you're gonna do a skin shader, you want to make sure in BPR, in your render properties, you have SSS turned on. That'll render that pass for the subsurface, which you can then comp in. So we'll render that out too. You guys want to see my shrimpies? My shrimp tank? I have a freshwater aquarium where I grow, there's all sorts of invertebrates in there. So all we need to do for this one, I'll show it to you after I save this out. It's gonna be hard with my camera, but we'll save out the shaded skin. And we want to save that SSS. I don't know if it'll actually be usable. Sometimes you have to tweak the settings with subsurface shading so that you get the proper contrast, but we can try it. Okay. So that pretty much concludes my sculpt off. That's part one. We will be coming back to this in the next couple of days, maybe tomorrow. I'll be on. But I think that's pretty good. 2.5 hours. Hey, thanks. Yeah. I think it's a good start, you know. And I'm definitely having a blast doing this. It's super fun to do sculpts like this, so. Yeah, really cool. So, let me grab the camera. Let's see if I can. I don't know if this is going to work. My camera is not really mobile. Shoot. Like the cord is not long enough. Zoom and enhance like CSI. That is such BS, by the way. It's like the most BS thing on TV. Enhance! Enhance! Yes, that's how imagery works. I swear, like at one of the jobs I worked at, the business guys, they didn't know. They had no idea what art was or what 3D was. And they were like, I think they honestly thought I could just press a button and make something. Like that's how the process works. And then they actually saw people like saw our team working and they were like, it's worse than watching paint dry. They thought it was that boring. But that's because they didn't understand it. Yeah, right? Zero respect. That's how it goes, though. But I had a blast making this character, and I'm glad I did the Draken last night too. I posted that on the Endless Legend forums, on the G2G forums, which are linked below. I've also got my Behance link below, as well as my ArtStation if you want to check that out. We'll be sculpting probably tomorrow. I'm thinking it's going to be later because I can't do it during the day. I've got some stuff to do during the day, but I think around 5 p.m. CT we'll do it. So 5 p.m. Central Time. And if you haven't, give me a follow. That way you'll get shown when I come online. There'll be a notification that'll pop up, and you can join in because sometimes I'm on at odd hours, and I'll either be sculpting late night or I'll be streaming games or something. So if you're interested and you like this stuff and you feel like you're learning something and you want to hang out, give me a follow, and we'll see you tomorrow. So have a good one. Take care, guys. Thanks. Bye.